Okay, Monte, tell me, how does a man from California, a small town in California, get to be a commander of 4,000 soldiers in the Karabakh Liberation Army?
Well, first of all, it's been a long time since I've been, participating in the Armenian struggle, in the Armenian people's struggle to regain their rights throughout their homeland, throughout their historic homeland, most of which is no longer, part of the Armenian state, the present Armenian state. So it's been about 15 years, more than 15 years that I've been participating in that struggle. So I've accumulated a bit of experience, and then when I came here, I began the same work. It was what I'm doing here is a continuation of what I did before. And it's totally natural that Armenians from the United States or any other place come here and participate like any other Armenian. In other words, this is our homeland. This is as much my homeland as it is the homeland of whoever's been born here or whatever. So it's very natural that people like me come here and participate. And I don't know, just like anyone else, through my work, things developed, and fortunately we've had important successes in the region where I'm the commander, in the region of Mardoni, in mountainous Karabakh. And so, that was just the way things evolved, and now I'm the commander of that region. And right now I'm in Mardagert, heading a unit from our region that's come here to help in re-liberating this region. As you know, the Azeris took it over in June and July 1992. They burned most of the villages and everything, and we've had a hard time getting back into these mountains, but we've done it, and we've caused a lot of damage to our enemy, and I think that our enemy has started to understand that this region isn't a part of Azerbaijan, that they can't crush the Armenian people militarily, and that they've got to look for other solutions.
Give me some background on the conflict.
Well, historically, Artsakh, that's the name for historical name for Karabakh, the Armenian name, Artsakh. So this region of Artsakh has always been one of the integral regions of the Armenian homeland throughout our history. Thousands of years of history, and for thousands of years, this region has been Armenian. In 1920, when both Azerbaijan and Armenia became Soviet republics, at that time they wanted to draw new borders. For very tactical political reasons, Stalin put a lot of pressure on the authorities of the Transcaucasian republics to have both Artsakh and Nakhichevan included in Azerbaijan rather than in Armenia, despite the fact that the Azerbaijani leader at the time, initially, December 2nd, 1920, declared that both of these regions were to be included in Armenia rather than in Azerbaijan. Despite that, Stalin put a lot of pressure on them to have these two regions arbitrarily cut off from Armenia and included in the Republic of Azerbaijan, mostly to get in good with Ataturk, who at the time Stalin believed was an anti-imperialist force, and a force that would eventually become an ally of the Soviet Union. So due to these tactical these tactical reasons, they decided to arbitrarily draw borders that do not at all represent the true borders, the historical borders, or the demography of the region. And so this region got cut off from Armenia, despite the fact that at that time 97% of the population was Armenian. 97%.
What motivates you?
What motivates me? What motivates me? What would motivate an American to fight if, say, for example, I don't know, say, for example, the Norwegians came and took over New York State, from New York all the way down to Georgia or something like that. If they took over the East Coast, what would motivate an American to go fight to regain those states? It's the same thing. You know, if it's part of your country and part of your people, and the rights of your people are being totally neglected, the people are being totally oppressed, forced to leave the region. For example, since 1920, the Azerbaijani government, once this region was included in Azerbaijan, began a policy of depopulating the region of Armenians. And they did that mostly by neglecting the region economically, not investing, not creating infrastructure, you know, roads, electricity, telecommunications, etc., running water. They neglected the region on purpose so as to empty the region of its population. Its population was 97% Armenian. A lot of the Armenians began going to Baku, Sumgait, or going back to Soviet Armenia just to find a job or just to, you know, make a decent living. And so by 1987, only 75% of the population was Armenian. And so that's, you know, there are tons of proof that that was a policy that the Azerbaijani government developed with the aim of finally totally taking the region over, like Nakhichevan. Nakhichevan was 50% of the population. Nakhichevan was Armenian in 1920, and today there are 0 Armenians in Nakhichevan. 0 Armenians. So when you see that part of your homeland is being taken over in some of the lowest ways, is like the state. The state is just, the Azerbaijani state has just been plotting to take it over gradually, and they take it over by suppressing all the rights of your people, by suppressing their culture, by intimidating them. When you see all that going on, it's hard to not participate. And it's amazing that more people don't participate. It's amazing that more countries don't recognize all these facts and that they don't support the Armenian people in this struggle. It's absolutely amazing. It's absolutely amazing for me that almost every country in the world accepts a Stalinist position on Artsakh. It was Stalin's arbitrary decision to cut this region off and draw those stupid, totally, absurd borders. But despite that fact, most of the countries in the world still recognize those borders as, quote-unquote, internationally recognized borders. It's, I don't know, it's absurd to me. It's absurd to me that the U.S. president, the heads of state of all these countries throughout the world would take a Stalinist position on Artsakh.
Do you think that has something to do with the United States' relationship with Turkey?
Of course it does. Of course it does. The United States has extremely tight relations with Turkey. They count on Turkey for a lot of things. Turkey's sort of their little puppet in the region. Turkey does more or less what they want it to do. It has a strong army. The United States wants to use that army. you know, to police the Arab states, to police Iran, to enforce U.S. policy in the region. And due to that, the United States is willing to totally ignore the rights of an awful lot of peoples, including the rights of the Armenian people. They're willing to ignore historical reality. They're willing to ignore demographic facts. They're willing to ignore an awful lot of stuff just to, to keep in good with Turkey. It's very similar to what Stalin was doing in 1920, 1921, when he, cut Artsakh and Nakhichevan off from Armenia just to get in good with the, Turkish government at the time with Ataturk.
Apropos Turkey, explain the demographics of Nakhichevan. It's really cut off from Azerbaijan, isn't it?
Yes, geographically, it's totally cut off from Azerbaijan. It has nothing to do with it at all. It's sort of it's an enclave south in the southern region of the present Armenia. There are only 300,000 population there. And the region has always been historically Armenian also. And as you can see, geographically has nothing to do with Azerbaijan. But since that's the only territory, quote-unquote Azerbaijani territory that borders Turkey, it's extremely strategic for Azerbaijan. It was strategic at the beginning of the century also. To have one region administratively linked to Azerbaijan, which would border Turkey. Again, Nakhichevan was cut off from Armenia for political reasons. That had nothing to do, or that even contradicted reality, contradicted the interests of the people at the time, contradicted the necessities of the time, and which contradict all our efforts for peace. Peace cannot be established in a region as long as absurd frontiers exist, as long as absurd decisions are forced on people. People just can't accept absurd decisions.
Do you think the Azeris and the Turks have any kind of imperialistic ambitions to actually obliterate free Armenia?
Well, if you look at maps recently published both in Azerbaijan and in Turkey, where the southern part of present Armenia, in other words, Zangezur, the region of Zangezur, where the region of Zangezur and the northern shore of Lake Sevan are in Azerbaijan, and the rest of Armenia is nothing but another province of Turkey. Well, if you look at those maps, then you'll understand that at least some people, influential people at that, obviously don't believe that Armenia should have a future. And if you listen to what they say, and if you listen to what a lot of people write, then you'll get even more convinced of that.
Tell me a little bit about your army. They're all volunteers, aren't they?
Well, volunteer. Who wouldn't volunteer to defend his own house, his own family? They're all people from here, from the region. They're in the thousands of among the thousands of soldiers we have, there are only something like 10 from Armenia here, this place, and 15 there in another region, and the whole region of Mardin, there are only about 10 people from out of Artsakh. In other words, they're local people. They're defending their families and their homes. So when you say volunteer, no one really wants to fight a war. No one really enjoys fighting a war. Fighting a war is more like cleaning a toilet. It's something you have to do. It's dirty work, but you have to do it, because if you don't do it, things only get worse.
There's a great difference, though, between your army and the Azeri army, isn't there?